Your absence is a narcissist's worst nightmare. It's one of the worst things that could ever happen to them. And yet, they often won't reveal this to you, and instead they will go off acting like everything is going well for them, as though they never needed you anyway. And this can be very confusing. It can leave you wondering, did you ever mean anything to them? Did what you have ever matter? But that's just it. Don't pay so much attention to their behavior. Remember, everything they do is to cover up their own insecurities so that they can feel a sense of control. And they're never going to reveal to you their true situation after leaving you. They're just going to make you believe whatever they think benefits them, whatever they think makes them look good, so that it provides them with a sense of control. It makes them feel like they've made the right decision by moving on from you. But yeah, let's talk about how your absence is a narcissist's worst nightmare. If you were their grade A primary source of supply, losing you is gonna be their worst nightmare. While you were around, they manipulated and dominated you. And they made you believe that you weren't good enough or that something was wrong with you. So they ridiculed you, humiliated you, betrayed you, all the while making you think that it was all your fault. But you've got to think about it like this. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but this is the way that you've got to look at it. What was all of that for? What was all of that about? Treating you with contempt, devaluing you, putting you down. And not just in one moment, this went on and on. Humiliating you, devaluing you, ridiculing you. They did all of these things because it was doing something for them. It benefited them. They were getting something out of it. And of course, think about, why would someone treat you that way? Why would they do those things to you? And of course, the answer always comes down to them being insecure, them not being happy with themselves. And so they used you, they manipulated and dominated you to feel a sense of control. And this is just one reason why your absence soon becomes their worst nightmare. Because then they've no longer got you there to manipulate and dominate, to humiliate and ridicule, which means that they no longer get to feel that sense of control. And of course, yes, they can go off and find another source of supply, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be that same way as it was with you. Other people may not be as tolerant of it. Maybe they can't get away with it with them as they did with you. So they don't get to feel that position of power with other people as they did with you. Which means that even when they're around other people, or even though they may have a new supply, deep down they're still feeling insecure. And the only difference for them now is that they don't have an outlet. There's no place for them to vent, to get it off their chest, to express it to people. Because other people are not going to tolerate it. other people are going to walk away. So they no longer have that opportunity anymore as a result of your absence. And this is how your absence soon becomes their worst nightmare. Because they can no longer get that narcissistic supply. And yes, they can go elsewhere, they can find someone else. It doesn't mean it's going to be that same supply as what they had with you. Just like how they say that no two snowflakes are the same. No two sources of supply are the same. We're all different. And you were tailor-made for them. That's how you became their primary grade A source of supply, because you checked all of the boxes, you filled in all of the gaps. You were exactly what they needed, which made them feel powerful, secure, validated. And yeah, they're never gonna find that ever again. They're never gonna find anyone else who knows them like you do, who learned them in the way that you do, had them all figured out. And I'm not saying like you were some detective, like you were interrogating them. Quite the opposite. You weren't doing any of that. At least not at the beginning. You weren't confronting them. You were tolerating the abuse, and you let them pull your personality inside out, mold you into exactly who they needed you to be, to then fulfill them and make them feel better. And other people may not be as moldable or adjustable. They might not be as tolerant. So how are they going to replace you? I mean, the only way possible is to find a new source and to mold them into a similar version of you. And of course, from what we know, this is typically what they do. They try to mold you into something similar to their previous source of supply. And that's what they were doing with you. They were trying to mold you into something that was already familiar to them. And if they kept you around for a long time, it's because you were moldable, you were adjustable, you were willing to go along with it. You performed well for them. And that's really what makes a good source of supply. Even if someone doesn't possess the qualities that they're looking for, as long as they are moldable, as long as they can shape them into who they need them to be, to replicate a previous source that did everything that they wanted. And that's really what they got out of you. But I can tell you that that is rare, especially in the world today, for them to be able to replicate that with someone else. But they will try. They will try and make it happen with another person. They will try to make a new person into you, because that's what they're missing now, and your absence is haunting them. It doesn't feel as good as it did with you. So essentially what this does by them losing you is it exposes their weaknesses. Without you, they struggle to maintain their false image, because you are the source of validation. You provided them with the security and the stability for them to perform, to put on this act. Because of course they had to get that energy, validation, encouragement from somewhere. And they had you on that same wavelength. They had you in agreement with them. And that's how you know that you are a source of supply. It's that you always have to be in agreement. You always have to say yes. You always have to encourage them on something at the expense of your own well-being, your own health. But without you there to prop them up, without you there to validate it, they feel insecure. And they can no longer push forward with it as they did before. They can't perform at that same level. Like when they were with you, they may have been a completely different person to who they are now with this new source of supply. With you, I mean, you upgraded their lives. You gave them confidence. You validated the false image. With you, they were on top of the world. And many of you, you may remember this, they were so grandiose. They felt like they were the best thing since sliced bread while they were around you. They thought they were something incredible. That's how you know that you're a good source of supply. When they feel like they're something amazing, that's how you know that you're supplying them. If you're not a good source of supply, they're not going to be feeling that way. They're going to be feeling insecure, like something is wrong with them, like they're not good enough. But they were never that way around you. They were always grandiose. They were always having these delusions, these fantasies of unlimited power, success, beauty. You really lifted them up. You really gave them this belief in their false image. You kept it going for them. So tell me, what are they going to do without you? Because who else is going to do that for them? Who else is going to prop them up? Who else is going to make them feel that good? Who else is going to make them feel that handsome, beautiful, wealthy, powerful, successful? Who else is going to prop them up on that pedestal the way that you did for them? Yes, this is what you provided to them. You gave them permission, validation to live in this fantasy world where they could be whoever they wanted to be, where they could feel so good about themselves. You were the buffer. You were the foundation, the structure, the backbone of that. You held it all together. Without you, it's just like a house of cards. It just falls on top of each other. But you propped it all up. And that's why they were so reliant, dependent on you for that. And even when you started to see through it, you no longer fell for the lies of future faking. Then they started to devalue you. And even then, that still made them feel powerful and in control. It still validated them. But they were mocking you and just making fun of you. That made them feel good, made them feel better, more attractive, more successful, powerful. So either way, I mean, even if they were devaluing you, you're still providing a service to them. It's like you were the carpet that they walked on. You were the doormat that they wiped their feet on so that they could feel like their shoes were more clean. And so that they didn't mess up the floor. And I know, it doesn't sound so nice to think that that's what we were to them at one point through the devaluation phase. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it was, They wiped their feet on us. We polished them up, even through the devaluation phase. We were like the ground that they walked on. And either way, Other people may not believe in the lies and illusions as much as we did. They may be not so willing to go along with it, especially when they begin to realize they're getting nothing back in return. Other people may not be so tolerant of the abuse. Either way, they're just not going to replace us. They're not going to find another source of supply who can make them feel that good, whether it's through the love bombing or the devaluation. It's just not going to happen for them. And this is how your absence soon becomes their worst nightmare. When they start to realize that, when they start to see, when they're manipulating, love bombing the next person and trying to pull them into the fantasy world, they start to see that, oh, so this person isn't so easily persuaded or convinced. It's not so easy to get them to go along with it, to believe in these illusions. They're not going to validate it. And yeah, without the validation, they feel insecure. Then they may try to devalue this new person. But then maybe they're not so tolerant of the abuse as well. Because that's typically it. You know, if someone's not going to believe in the illusion, if they're not going to validate the false self, then it's definitely more unlikely that they're going to tolerate abuse. That's just typically how it works. People who tolerate the abuse, it's because they are in the illusion. They're in the trauma bond. They're believing in the lies. They're validating the false image. Which is exactly what we did for them. We did all of that. We made them feel so good. We believed in them. We believed that they were something special, and that's all that they wanted. We believed that they were something until we just couldn't believe in it anymore. And then they made us believe that something was wrong with us, that we were less than them. And then we believed in that. So it was really just an ideal situation for them with us. It was exactly how they needed it to be. They molded us into exactly who they needed us to be. But without you, without that validation, without that supply, without that compliance, submission, it exposes their weaknesses. And then they struggle to maintain their false image. They may also fear that you will replace them. They may fear that you will move on and be happy without them. And of course, that's another threat to their false image, because you became their reference point and their entire false self is then tied to you. So they need you to stay down and stuck while they move on, in order for them to feel secure and validated. If they still have these fears that you might move on, you might heal, things might get better for you, it threatens their false image. They don't like that. And this is why sometimes many of them will come back, they will hoover you, just to try and sabotage you all over again. Because that's another part of their supply. It's validation, power and control that they get from you, from affecting you. This is how you know that you are a good source of supply to them. But yeah, they will experience an ego collapse. Losing you will feel like a personal failure. It will bruise their pride. While they were around you, they felt self-satisfaction. They felt satisfied with their achievements. Because you were believing in it, you were going along with it. You were validating it. But without you there, it then affects their ego. They feel less important because they love just having someone there who they can dominate, who will follow their lead, who will just go along with them. That's what gives them that emotional support. So yeah, of course, without you, they're going to experience a loss of stability. It's bound to happen because all of that time that you were with them, they used you to regulate their emotions, to make them feel better. You regulated their daily life. You supported them from getting from one day to the next. You were a stepping stone for them. You were their life support. So how are they going to be okay without you? How is your absence not going to be their worst nightmare? Only if they can find someone to replicate it. And they will try. But like I said, every snowflake is different. They're not going to find an exact replica of you. And they're going to struggle to make someone else into you. So it's just never going to work out that way. And it is going to become a nightmare for them as they gradually begin to realize that. They gradually begin to realize that other people are not going to make their lives all about them. They're not going to make this narcissist the center of their world. They're not going to let them dominate them, manipulate them. They're not going to comply. They're not going to submit. Gradually, the narcissist will begin to realize that. They will begin to become aware of it. And that's how it then becomes their worst nightmare. And this is how they then come running back to you. They hoover you. They try to get back in with you again. They give you false promises, more future faking, love bombing. And many of you may be wondering, why now all of a sudden? I thought you had moved on. I thought you were happy with this new person. So why are you coming back now? You may be thinking. But that's just it. When you do see them coming back for supply, for attention, validation, it's only because something didn't work out elsewhere. It's because they couldn't manipulate and dominate someone else in the way that they did with you. And that's the only reason why, because if they could, you would never hear from them again. If they had someone else who they could make their world revolve around them and be the center of their world, if they could have someone else that it was easier for them, more accessible, less hassle, then they would just go there. They would just deal with that person. Why come back to you if it's more difficult, if it's harder? They come back to you because it's easier. It's less effort. Because they know it's going to be the way they want it to be, or at least they assume that it will be. They expect it to be. And that's really the only reason why. Because they assume that they can have things the way they want it to be, as it was before for them. And that's really it. It's all out of convenience. It's whatever's most convenient for them. Whatever they can get their needs met. But then also, it's not always about just getting the needs met. They want to get their needs met with the least amount of effort. They don't want to push a huge rock up a hill just to get what they want. They're not going to want to put themselves through that. Many narcissists are very lazy. They seek instant gratification. And they have a strong sense of entitlement, so they want it all laid out on a plate for them. They want it how they want it to be. And they had it like that with you. It was like the Burger King slogan. With you, they could have it their way. But that's just it. Can they have it their way? And really, it's only you who will know that. I mean, I can't peer into your situation. I don't know exactly who I'm talking about, or talking to rather. So I don't know exactly what you did, what you provided for this narcissist, and how long it went on for. I don't know how good your supply was. Only you will know that. And, you know, I'm sure you can decide for yourself. You can work it out whether or not they're going to be able to find a suitable replacement for you. And I know in my situation, none of them are ever going to replace me. None of them are ever going to find another me. They're never going to find anyone who could do even a fraction of what I did for them. It's just never going to happen. And not that there's no one else like me out there. I mean, of course, you know, there may be people out there who are similar to me in some sort of way, as there may be people who are similar to you. They may have a similar personality, live a similar lifestyle. But can a narcissist have access to those people? And not only that, but no two snowflakes are the same. So, yeah, it's not that simple that they can just move on and replace you, as some people may be thinking. Yes, it wasn't so much about you as a person. It was more about the benefits, the convenience. And so let's make it about that. Are they going to be able to get those same benefits, those same conveniences somewhere else? At the degree, the scale that they had it from you, that they were accustomed to. And, you know, what I would say is that with many of you, it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to. Now, that's how many of you do experience Hoover attempts. This is why, on average, a narcissist returns to their victims 7 times before it's finally all over. I mean, if it was that easy for them to find someone else at that same level, why would they go back and forth 7 times? But yeah, your absence may even trigger their abandonment wound. It may trigger their deep-seated fears of being unworthy or unloved. And this really goes back to their childhood, where they were made to feel like they're not enough by a parent. And this is why it's like they always had to be around you all the time. They could never leave you alone. They were very anxious. They were always just in your face, and you could never be alone. It's because of that abandonment wound. So they always had to feel in control of you. And that will affect them. It may affect their ability to move on. Because let's think about it like this, they don't heal. So they're going to be taking that abandonment wound into the next situation. Those fears of being unworthy or unloved. And the new source may witness that. early on. And this is how in some situations it does go straight to the devaluation phase, because they've already got these deep-seated fears of unworthiness, of being unloved, as a result of your absence. And so if they see an opportunity to do so, they may just go straight to the devaluation in some cases. But also remember how dependent on you they were as it pertains to blaming you. They put a lot of blame onto you. They blamed you for everything. They gaslighted you. They made you feel like everything was your fault. Again, even though, of course, it's an act of disrespect for them to treat you that way, by you enabling it, you were providing a service to them. Because by them blaming you, they could avoid accountability, the consequences of their actions, and they could avoid having to face their own issues. So think about it, without that, without someone to blame, without a scapegoat, now they're going to have to face their own issues if they've got no one else who they can blame. So yeah, they will experience diminished power, because now they've no longer got you there to boost their self-worth, which means that they're going to be feeling more insecure. They're not going to be feeling so grandiose as they did with you. And that means that with the next source of supply, they're likely to be more insecure, more covert, more manipulative, deceptive, maybe more abusive. Because when they have that sense of power, when they're in a state of grandiosity, it props them up. They feel better about themselves. And even though they make everything all about them, at least then, they feel like they're something. So they have no reason to attack anyone or put them down, as long as you're believing in it. And as long as they're getting something out of it. But yeah, without you, they will feel this diminished power. And of course, without that grandiosity, without being able to live in their fantasy world, they're going to experience uncertainty and panic. Because now they've lost control of the narrative, and they may fear how other people see them, because they've no longer got you there to prop them up, to validate them, to give them a sense of security, a sense of control, fueling their grandiosity, because that's what we did for them. We made them feel powerful, successful, and important, beautiful. That's how we made them feel. And yet, because they're so insecure and they don't want to give us credit for anything, they'll go off and act like they're fine, they're moving on. They've got someone else, they never needed you. You don't matter, like you never existed to them. You remember everything that you went through in that relationship. All of the services that you provided to them. Remember how you made them feel. You made them feel good most of the time. You supported their delusions of grandeur. You made them feel powerful, important, beautiful, successful. You made them feel all of those things. And that's whether it was through the love bombing or the devaluation. Either way, they still felt something as a result of it. Even if they were making you feel like you're nothing, that still made them feel better. So who's going to do that for them now? Who's going to be the carpet for them to walk on? The doormat for them to wipe their feet on? Who's going to be that? Who's going to fulfill that role, that position? Because I can tell you, I don't think many people out there are going to be willing to do that. They're not going to prop them up. They're not going to validate the illusion. And they're not going to tolerate the abuse. So the odds are that your absence is going to be their worst nightmare. And this is how they end up becoming your worst nightmare. They switch it around on you because that's what they're going through as a result of your absence. So this is how many of them, what do? They then come back, they hoover you, they sabotage you, discredit you, run a smear campaign, because they can't find anyone else to validate their delusions of grandeur. They can't find anyone else to tolerate the abuse. This is why. They can't find anyone else to make them feel how you feel, how you made them feel. It's just you. And this is how you know that, because this is how they react when they've lost a certain supply that they know they can't replace. They go crazy. They rage, they panic out of fear of losing control. And so they discredit you, they smear you, sabotage you. They want to trap and contain you because they know they're never going to find anything else like that ever again. They know this is it for them. They know this is as good as it gets. They know they're never going to find anyone else like you. That's why they become so controlling. That's why they can't try and keep you trapped. Because think about it like this. Here's a good analogy for you. It's like if you have a possession that isn't very rare and it's not very valuable to you, it's not expensive, it's easily replaceable, you're not going to place so much security on it. You're not going to be so angry if you lose it, if you can replace it, if you can get another one, if it's not that rare. The reason why they get so angry, they panic, and they discredit you, sabotage you, smear you, and just try and control you and trap you as much as they can, to where they try and isolate you, contain you. It's because of your rarity. You're unique, special. They know they can't get another one. They can't replace you. This is why. This is why they become so possessive and controlling, jealous. If they're not jealous, if they're not controlling, if they don't care about what you're doing, where you are, who you're with, if they're not going around and telling everyone about what a horrible person you are and trying to isolate you, then you weren't that important to them. You weren't that special to them. And they do feel like they can just go off and replace you with something else. Not all of the time, but in many situations. As for the exceptions, yeah, in some cases it may be That they know you're rare, they know you're special, they know they're never going to find anyone else like you, but maybe they just don't have the means. They don't have the resources. They don't have the people to discredit you, sabotage you, control you. So that could be the case as well. And it may also be their pride and ego. Because at some level, you know, not all narcissists are that stupid. They do know that if they're going out of their way to corner you, trap you, sabotage, discredit, smear you, isolate you, that only speaks of your value. Because if you weren't anything special, then why would they even care? At some level, some narcissists understand that. They are aware of it. And so they might try and play that down even if they are doing that. And some of them may just not even try to come back to you and just ignore you, forget about you. Act like they're doing good even though they're not, because of their pride and ego. They don't want to let you have the last laugh on them. They want you to think that you're the one who's losing, you're the one who's missing out. But let me tell you this, you know, what someone puts out, and when they have to make such a big scene of it, so exaggerated, it's typically the very thing they're insecure about. So if they're making such a big scene, all of this chaos, they're going out of their way to sabotage, discredit, smear you, isolate you. It just reveals their own insecurities and deficiencies. It just reveals that you have had the last laugh. And they are losers. Because otherwise, why would they need to do that? I mean, think about it. If they're somewhere and they're doing good, they're living their best lives, they would have just forgotten about you. They're not going to care about what you're doing. Why would they care? You know, if they've got everything they need, they've got all of the people, connections, resources, happiness, success, they're going to stay quiet. You're not even going to hear from them. You're not going to know where they are. They're just going to forget about you, leave you to it. Even if it does look like you're doing good, if they're doing better, they're just going to be like, yeah, all right, let them think that they're doing good. Let them think that they got something. I'll be over here enjoying everything I got, because I got so much, is how they will think. So they come back, they remain around you, they stalk you, they cause all of these problems for you, out of their own insecurities and deficiencies, because they're not doing well. Because things are going horrible for them. And despite how bad they may have tried to make you believe your situation is, theirs is worse. Even if it looks better, even if it looks like they have more stuff, more people, they're not happy with it. It's not what they really want. It's not good enough for them. What they really want is domination and control over you. They want to keep getting validation from you. They're hooked on you. It's like they're trauma bonded to you. The best they will ever get is your validation. And why is your validation so important to them? Well, it's because you opposed them. You didn't conform to their narrative. You were rebellious, independent. You chose your own path. You went your own way. You stepped away from the tribe. You displayed confidence, self-belief, self-assurance. Biologically, that's very attractive. If you go against the tribe, if you follow your own narrative, your own path, that is highly attractive. Even if you're wrong, but especially if you're right. It's just in our evolution, it's natural selection. Because typically, if we look back through history, something typically happens to the tribe. If that was not the case, we would all just be one big tribe today. The reason how we separate into different sects, into different groups, is because that's attractive to people. When someone chooses a different path and when they display confidence, and that's what we do. When we rebelled against them. So that's highly attractive to them. They see us as something powerful, superior. And that's why they can't stand it, because we challenge the status quo. We make them feel insecure. We make them feel outdated, irrelevant, insignificant. It becomes a power struggle for them. And honestly, they don't care if you're better, if you're right, if you're doing the right thing. For them, that just means all the more reason to tear you down so that you don't show them up. But yeah, this is why they stay on you. It's because you are right. It's because you are doing the right thing. And that's why your validation is so important to them. That's why they can't be happy with anything they've got. Their people, their resources, wherever it is, it's not enough for them. They still feel regret. They still feel like they're missing something. They still feel like if you go off on your own, things are going to be better for you than what they are for them. Because deep down they know that you're right. They know things are going to be better for you. If they didn't believe that, they would just leave you to it. So deep down, they do have this awareness. Many of them do, they are aware. And that's why they come back. Because you see how they act around those who they genuinely believe are wrong, no good, people who are not going to be successful. They just forget about them. They don't really do anything to sabotage them, at least not consistently, not persistently. They don't even bother. They do with you because they recognize your power. And that's the difference. And this is why, when you have haters, when you have people who are trying to tear you down, it should be a reminder to you of your worth. Because just know this, if you weren't anything, why would they even waste their time? Why tear something down if there isn't even anything to tear down? How can you devalue? How can you take value away from something that had no value to begin with? And this is how you know it's all a game. And many of you, your power comes from within. You have the ability to succeed on your own without them. And yeah, this is how your absence becomes their worst nightmare. Because they are better off with you having that power. With them conforming and following your narrative. This is why they're so insecure about it, and they go to twist the narrative and spread rumors about you to everyone. It's because they just want to challenge your authority. They don't want to be under your control, even though that may be best for them. It's just they don't want it to be that way. Because this is what narcissists are like. They want to have the power. A narcissist is the type of person who wants to be the captain of the ship, even if they have no experience. Even if someone else is better equipped for that position, they want to have the power. They want to have the control. They want the validation, the sense of superiority. And yeah, you know, this is what happens when they get involved with us. What do? They crash the ship. And then every time at the end of the relationship, they blame us. They give us all of the responsibility, but no power to change anything. Because they want all of the power, but no responsibility. That power is better off in your hands. You should have had that authority. And then there would have been no reason for them to blame anyone, because everything would have been fine. But that's just it. It's never enough for a narcissist anyway. They have a void that can never be filled. But yeah, this is what it comes down to. This is why they blame you at the end, rather than accepting that they shouldn't have had the power to begin with. They shouldn't have had any authority. This is how they always destroy everything. They destroy their relationships because they want to have the power, but they're not equipped for that position. They're not truly confident. They don't have the skills, the abilities. And this is what it comes down to. And this is how it is in the world today, is that there's so many people in positions of power and authority who want to be the captain of the ship just for a validation, a sense of superiority, possibly for money. And they don't consider everyone else. They don't consider how they're leading people into harm's way. They're leading them into a dangerous situation. They don't consider any of that. And this is what makes these people so dangerous. And, you know, this is what narcissists are like. They're like this everywhere. Just because they want the power and control, they want to be an authority, they want the validation, maybe money. They want to be seen as something. But that's just it. If you've got the skills, the experience, the abilities to go along with that, well, you're actually going to get people to where they want to go. You're actually going to make things better for them rather than worse off. Now, this is how you know you were dealing with a narcissist. This is how you know you had one in your life, because are you now worse off? Are things better for you now or worse? This is how you know you had a fake-ass narcissist in your life who never should have had any power over you. They shouldn't have had any authority because you were greater than them. You were better equipped for that position. And, you know, this is something that many of you need to realize, is that it was you all along. You were the one. You were the one who was gifted, equipped for this, not them. And they were just in the way. They were just holding you back. They didn't want you to believe in yourself. And this is what you all have to realize, is that you are the one who's meant to have the power. You just gave your power to them. You gave them the authority to ruin the relationship, to destroy everything, because they weren't equipped for that position. They weren't able to be responsible. And this is how they ended up blaming you at the end. So this is why you got to realize, and this is why you got to be very careful when people like this come into your life and they want to control everything. You got to be like, no, I've got my own way of doing things, and up until this point it's been very successful. And if you want to have any sort of power in my life over anything that I'm doing, then you show me what you've been doing. Let's see your success. Let's see how things have been going for you first. Let's see the proof. And that's how it should be. What do? They come in with lies, future faking, a false self. And they just expect you to believe without any evidence. You should be like, no, I want to see real success. I want to see results. And that's how you know that you're dealing with someone who's actually credible. Someone who can actually get you from one position to the next, rather than someone who just leaves you stuck. And you know, people like this are everywhere in the world today. You see them all over YouTube, TikTok. People who seem so confident, like they know exactly what they're talking about, when really, no, they don't. And these are the very same people who will then go and discredit other people who do know what they're talking about, whether it be an expert or even a doctor. And it's just really bad, but this is how it's gotten to in the world today. And no one knows who to listen to. And yeah, you can see this everywhere online, especially. I mean, you just look at the amount of time that I've spent researching about narcissistic abuse and my lifetime of personal experience, all of my experience with my clients in the coaching sessions, and compare that to how many views I now get on YouTube. And then you look at some other YouTubers or other people on TikTok who are also speaking of this. And, you know, sometimes things sound good, but really pay attention. Is what they are saying true? Is it right? Are they really giving you an abundance of information? Listen carefully to them, to what they're saying. Because what you will find is that a lot of them, it's really just all about their image. They just want to have that influence and authority over people. The power. Directing the course of events, determining your behavior, influencing your perception. That's all that they want, because it validates them. And maybe it makes them money as well. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being happy, being excited. You know, even if you're talking about narcissistic abuse, and let's say you got 100,000 subscribers, sure, you know, of course, celebrate it. That's something to be proud of. And also, even if you're making money from talking about this kind of stuff, that's great. But is the information correct? Is it factual? Or even if it can't be proven, but you know, many things in psychology can't be. Is it really something that you believe in? Or is it just something to get views, to manipulate people's perception? Because that's what a lot of this stuff is. It's people just pretending. And it's really bad. It's gotten out of hand. And, you know, fortunately, I have seen some people on YouTube and TikTok who are getting plenty of views. And what they're saying is real, it's factual, it's helpful. But honestly, there's a lot of things on here that are not good. Things that could be detrimental to you. Misinformation. Things that could put you in harm's way. And, you know, that's always been the main concern for me. Is how my videos will affect people, how it will affect their lives. And yeah, that's always at the forefront of my mind every time that I create content. Because that's what it is for me. I consider myself a leader. And my mission is really to improve people's lives, see them happier and healthier. And that's always been the mission since day one. I mean, just remember my first video. The narcissist doesn't want you to look or feel good. Because that's what's on my mind. That's what I think is important. We want to feel good and we want to look good. And what's wrong with that? But also, it's not just about looking good. We want to be good. We want to be something for real. But yeah, that was just a bit of an analogy. Because this is what narcissists are like. They're good at pretending. They're good at putting on an act. But are they actually the real deal? Is that really them? Is it really something that they're passionate about? Does it mean anything to them? Are they serious, genuine? Are they really in it with you? Do they really care about you? This is what you've got to look for. 97 live viewers, give it a thumbs up. Let's get this video out there. Because there's so much information online, misinformation online. So many people are talking about the wrong things, saying things that are misleading, that are not true, or things that could even be damaging to people, that could ruin people's lives. And people need to know about this. It's not about going online and just finding anyone who says the wrong thing, or just exposing them, tearing down their content. It's not about that. Let's not just constantly focus on the negativity. Let's focus on what the right information is. And let's put that out there. So that should be more important. But yeah, how's everyone doing in my live chats? It's true, in many situations, your absence is the narcissist's worst nightmare. It affects them in many ways, and it's going to be very difficult for them to replace you. It's very unlikely that they will ever find anyone at your level. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Sunday Blues says Narc's major in toxicity. And that's pretty much all they're good at. That's all they can really do. All they can do is be toxic, harmful to you. Truth be told, 823 says it don't matter who they are. They are pretty much useless in my life or to me. They are completely useless. I mean, in every possible way. They only pose as a hindrance to your life. They can't help you in any way. They can only bring you down with them. And even blame you at the end for it as well. Because they're not people who are meant to be listened to. You're not meant to follow their advice. They're fake. And they only care about themselves. Kim H says, you tell them something and they don't listen. But when someone tells them, they suddenly give that person credit. Yeah, they just don't want to listen to you. They don't want you to have any authority over them. They don't want to take your advice. Because again, you know, why is it such a big deal for them to avoid giving you credit, to avoid listening to something you've said? It's because it's the very thing they're insecure about. It's because they fear that you naturally deserve to be in a position of power over them. They fear that. If they didn't fear that, they wouldn't care. They would listen to you. They would give you credit. So what? It wouldn't matter to them. Mimi Reese says, I hope you and Nala are safe after the earthquake. Well, I'm currently in the Philippines and Nala is in Malaysia. From what I've seen, the earthquake affected Myanmar, Thailand, and parts of China. So we are actually unaffected by it. But yeah, it's very sad. I mean, you know, many people lost their lives and potentially billions of dollars worth of damage to buildings. So, you know, it's real devastation. But it should be a reminder, you know, of nature's power. Who would have thought that this would be happening? And yeah, I mean, it's just the way the world is. Especially in this part of the world, there's many earthquakes, tsunamis, volcano eruptions. It's not uncommon. Truth be told, 823 says, like I said, they're useless, can't heal me, or they hinder and further destroy me and slow my progress. Whatever God there is, it's in my own way. Yeah, that's it. I mean, these people will always be in your way. They don't want to see you succeed in anything. They don't want to see you being happy, comfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because they feel inferior to you. They feel like you are better than them, so they want to make you worse. But that's just it, you know, anyone who is secure, anyone who is satisfied with themselves, they're going to want you to be the best version of you. And that's really what you need to remember. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up down below. And drop a comment down below as well. Let's get the conversation started. Do you feel like your absence is or is going to be your narcissist's worst nightmare? I'd like to hear from you. Drop it in the comments below. If you're new here, subscribe. Click all notifications so that you will be notified when I upload a new video or go live again. If you would like guidance to support your healing journey, book a one-on-one with me today by going to narcsurvivor.co.uk. Your donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. Donate by going to paypal.me/narcsurvivor. And also, if you would like to see some content from my trip earlier this year to Cebu and Bohol in the Philippines, follow me on my Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. So yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you all for joining me, and I will talk to you in another live video very soon.